My name is Chien. I am a Olympic-style weightlifting coach, a wilderness survival instructor, and currently training to be a sex and intimacy coach. As an Asian American male, things that I had to overcome and that really challenged me were perfectionism and also shame. And I think they're very much related, trying to do things perfectly without having any prior knowledge to something. Kind of ties into the cultural norm of saving face, looking like everything's fine when it's not, and shame about some of the difficulties that our families had to go through to become who we were and how we got to this country, or even how we were able to establish like a normal household. When we're talking about stereotypes for Asian males, I don't think they're quite obvious, because one of the things that I noticed only recently was there are no sexual role models or any sexy Asian guys that are just an example to other guys that let us know that it's possible. We're not talked about in a sexy way. It's either we're kind of either kick ass like Bruce Lee, or you're the submissive Asian liquor store owner. And that missing piece is dangerous for a lot of Asian men who have feelings, who have sexual identities that they don't feel it's okay to express because it's not allowed. Like, there's no role models doing it. In my line of work to address these things, I teach Olympic style weightlifting with an emphasis on body positivity and not using shame. Like, it's okay to not be in shape. We're gonna teach you the skills. Everyone has the capability. So I do that for a living. But only recently I found the connection between my sexuality and my physicality, that they're very much about instinct, about recovering those innate things that we're taught to push away in the name of safety, meaning building a secure life, whatever is the right thing to do. Like, get an accounting job or get a tech job or just get something that's safe, that's not gonna cause any trouble. But it'll seem right, but it doesn't feel good. Because what feels good is people feeling strong in their body and not having shame around it. And also their desire to go talk to people that they're attracted to and just have conversations and socialize. And the other part too is I realized going to become a survival instructor took away a lot of my basic fears about not having a home, about not being able to feed myself. And when I was younger, my relatives would scare me by taking me into Chinatown and downtown and saying, do you want to be like them, the people on the street? Well, don't do X, Y, and Z. And that's how we program our children, out of fear, not motivation to do something that really calls to them. So when you act out of fear, you don't feel joy. So that's where I think it leads to a lot of depression for a lot of Asian males, because they're only given the option to just be scared shitless or do something about it. But even then, you get to be quiet about it. You don't get to complain. You don't get to just, if you have money, it's almost a given that you're happy. But we know that's not universally true. We know that it's just a resource, that you need to have the guts to go for what you want, and money's just a resource to get you there.
My inability to know and understand cars when I was younger, and then from there it's like, yeah, I just want everybody to understand drifting the right way, I guess is the best way to put it. So maybe that's why I spend so much time and I get so heavily involved with teaching people. They were willing to put the risk into coming out to a class and learning, so it's my obligation to provide them the best experience possible. I feel as though I have to put in 110% into every single person. I can probably remember their face at the end of the day, and that's probably the most gratifying part about it. But I know for sure, anybody who comes by my school, they've got a smile that they can't take off for, at least a good few hours after they leave. Being a second generation Japanese, trying to listen to your parents is what they thought the American dream was, and going against it. It's almost like this weird internal struggle that you have And maybe that's why I just had to pursue something that I really wanted or liked a lot. Otherwise, there's no way, I would ever be happy with who I am and what I do. It's sort of a weird dynamic. You're born in America and your parents, they want you to become American in some ways and live the American dream, but they didn't know how to achieve it. They just told you to do it. You know what I mean? So being a sort of a second generation Japanese and not knowing who I was or what I wanted to do, I didn't want to major in business or become a doctor. Just like every other Asian parents told their kids to become, I think in other ways I didn't want to become that way because I needed to prove something to myself. It was an anti-conformist attitude, I think, that I had. I remember we had this discussion about why aren't Asian people portrayed as being masculine or sexy. To help change it, probably definitely bring awareness to it. And I think it's whether or not the public will can accept it too. It doesn't help that even all the movies that they're supposed to portray a strong, dominant Asian person is not quite there. It's sort of interesting to understand how the public views Asian Americans. I think sometimes we almost get the mercy, like, oh yeah, you guys are all cool and masculine and shit, but you don't feel that way, right? Yeah.
My name is Daphne. I am the owner of Coaching with Daphne. I run a personal training business in person, online, and I also try to help people on social media. And I am born and raised in San Francisco. Both of my parents were immigrants from China. Well, back in college, I was really overweight. I was 200 pounds. And my parents told me to either become a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant. Since I was really great with math, I went to the accounting route. I was in school for about 3 years or so in accounting, and I really did not like it. And throughout that phase in college, I started to work out, exercise, and I lost a lot of weight. And that kind of gave me the confidence to do other things in my life. So when I decided to switch from being an accountant to personal trainer, my mom freaked out. She was like, well, you gotta finish college. You have to be an accountant. It's more stable, personal training job. Like, we don't get paid off clock. Like, when we have breaks, we only get paid when we're training people. So it's not very stable. So my parents freaked out and they're very unsupportive about it. They're still very unsupportive about it, but I chose this route and I'm not turning back. One client, he wasn't able to walk. He had a stroke and I was able to help him from super disabled to being able to play with his kids, and that melted my heart, really. And I was able to do that with multiple people and help a lot of people lose weight, get healthy, get fit, get more energized, just to live a healthier life. And it makes me feel really great inside, and I felt like that is my purpose. No, there is not a lot of Asian Americans in this industry. The majority in the fitness industry are either white or black. It's just because they look good on magazines, they do better in photo shoots. And then when people, in terms of finding a trainer or like a fitness idol, they're usually like, they kind of go back into the magazine. So if a girl looks very hot, most people will think like, okay, she's hot, she knows what she's talking about. Versus Asian, you don't see a lot of Asian women in fitness magazines at all whatsoever. There are more Asians in the powerlifting sport, just not in the fitness industry as a whole. But a lot more Asian girls are starting to lift weights, which is awesome. If you go to like a powerlifting competition, I would say like 30% are now Asian, which is amazing. So every month I do a very special promotion. Every month is totally different. In January, I've given 20% of my profits to the veterans. In February, I've given back to the Buddhist community, to my fellow Asians, because they really helped my parents out through a rough time. And then last month, I've given back to dogs, because dogs make everyone happy. This month, I'm giving back to single parents, because in honor of Mother's Day. There's a lot of single moms, single dads, and they're struggling with like their health. It's important to give back to the community because you know, I have a house to live in, I have food to eat, that's already, and I have a functional body. A lot of people don't have that, and it's really, really to give back to those that are in need. Plus, it makes you feel good in the heart. No job is stable, and if you only live one life, you might as well spend your life doing something that you truly love. And that's, you know, that's why I'm here.
Hi, my name is Seibo Shen. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Vape Exhale and Canna Athlete. I was born in Japan, moved to California at the age of 1, and was born and raised, went to school at Hillsdale in San Mateo, graduated from UCLA, then worked in Silicon Valley for 10 years before jumping into the cannabis industry. I think one of the most common misconceptions is that, that a lot of high-functioning people don't use cannabis, or a lot of, like, quote-unquote losers consume cannabis. And this has always been an interesting topic to me, because I've always had like some of the my most deepest analytical, introspective thoughts after consuming cannabis. And over the course of the last 4 years of my career, I've met with 328 different executives. 272 of them have consumed cannabis at least twice a week. So I argue that cannabis is disproportionately the drug of intellectuals, and I don't even want to use the word drug, because I think of it as just a supplement. And not only that is the cannabinoids are such high in anti-inflammatories that it's just a great thing to take proactively, even if you don't have any issues. I've been pretty lucky because, growing up in San Francisco, this is a very, diverse area, but when we travel to other areas that aren't quite as diverse, they're not used to seeing a lot of, Asian male CEOs. They'll crack jokes about being Oriental, or, listening very well, being technical and not, extremely creative, just different things. Like I'm always surprised that they would, say them to my face, quite honestly, because, I think it just feeds into the stereotype that Asian males are passive. And for me, I was never one to really back down to people, so I would always politely correct them. And the great part about it is, these people, I don't think that they are malicious. They're just, behaving in a way that they think is appropriate. And when they are corrected, 9 out of 10 of them respond positively. And this is the reason why I think it's important for Asian men to begin to speak up. I think a lot of the way Asians raise their kids, it's these very empirical, measurable things for them to achieve. Do you have a bachelor's? Do you have a graduate degree? Like, my dad still tells me, or asks me, do you want to go back to business school? I'm like, what for? I gave a speech to a Cornell graduating class. Like, I know way more about business through life than, that they have learned so far in textbooks. But that is how, they've kind of looked at things. And for me, it's really important for my own kids to have this type of self-awareness, to have this type of independent thinking, to be able to figure out what they really want to do. So my main thing that I want to give to them is the ability to properly analyze and have an analytical mind, so that they can make the proper decisions for themselves.
You're a flower.